Hello, BookTube. We're continuing with my library tour. Yay! Sarah at Steeped Books always does that. Only in her case, when she goes, yay, she's accurately symbolizing the reaction of her audience. Whereas with me, I think it's just the opposite. Oh my God. Is this still going on? It is still going on. We have quite a few more books to look at. And we are doing the final wall in this room. We have gone all the way around the room. So this is the history wall, but there's quite a few things on here that aren't history. We'll just have to work our way through them. So we're just going to go on here with the next shelf, maybe two shelves. This is this isn't all one bookcase. This is a fairly narrow bookcase to start things off. What I wouldn't give for this filming angle to be impossible. What I wouldn't give, instead of the two waist-high bookcases that are next to each other here, what I wouldn't give to either have two more waist-high bookcases to stack on top of them along this wall, or two tall bookcases to stack along this wall. I was kind of hoping to find some bookcases during our long Labor Day weekend in Vermont, but I will. Sooner or later, I will. So a lot of these are going to be, there'll be a mix here of used books that I've got secondhand, and also new trade paperbacks. We saw that last time. Those of you who are coming new to the channel, I'm noticing that some of you are new to the channel. First of all, welcome. I'm sorry to say neither the lighting nor the content gets any better. But some of you have been asking, what on earth is going on here? Why do you have so many new books? And one person actually emailed me and asked if I was rich. The actual answer is that I'm a professional book reviewer, and I have been for a long time. So I get a lot of books in the mail, and very nicely from publishers, even though they have to know there's probably no game in it for them. Very nicely, publishers will also often send me the paperback release, and doesn't do them any good. The blurbs are already on the thing. The critical response, of which I am a part, is already there. I very much like it, because oftentimes I will like the paperback more than the hardcover. And this is a case where I had the hardcover, and I read it. I really loved it. I talked it up, and then I don't think I reviewed it. But it wouldn't matter anyway, because even if I promise to link my reviews down below, I will forget. It's a problem with making a video and then only remembering as the sun is going down that you have to post it. It's not going to magically post itself. But I love this, and I got it in paperback. This is The Butcher's Art. This is by Lindsay Fitzharris, and it's a terrific story. Not just about Joseph Lister, who was a pioneer in trying to clean up the practice of surgery in the Victorian era, but also about not just surgery, but medicine in the Victorian era. We like to think of the Victorian era as the doorstep of the present day, because in so many ways the Victorians were so forward-looking. But medical science was still barbaric. It was still very much the same as it was during Homeric times. And accounts of it, they'll chill your blood. And this book is terrific on that. It's not the only book I've read on the subject, but it's really good. I kind of liked the personal axis on which it turned. Oh, okay, all right. I don't think I'm blurbed on this thing. This is great, though. This is absolutely great. This author is fantastic. This is Butterfly Politics by Catherine McKinnon. And this is about, the subtitle is Changing the World for Women, and this is a case where the trade paperback looks so much nicer than the hardcover did. This is from the Belknap Press of Harvard University Press, and if you go online and look at the hardcover, and then look at this thing, there's no contest whatsoever. I read and loved the hardcover. Spiky, steeply thoughtful, steeply intellectual. I went on a rant yesterday. Unscripted, of course. I don't use a script on this channel. Maybe I should. I went on a rant yesterday about the horrible deformations of what I consider to be feminism in the 21st century, largely done by goggle glasses, shaved head, dyed-haired young women who just hate men, who just think men are icky. And that's their feminism. I'm surprised. In fact, I might have missed it. It might be out there. I'm surprised that I haven't seen such a so-called fourth-wave feminist tract that is just called Men Are Icky. I'm sure it's on Roxane Gay's list of things to write. But this is the real deal. Quite a deal. Of course, if you know anything about Catherine McKinnon, then you're going to expect quite a bit of this book deals with pornography. She's a brilliant thinker. on pornography, but there's also a lot of other stuff too. I read the hardcover when it came out and loved it. Just one of those books where you read a chapter and then you sit back and just think about it. And then you read another chapter. I couldn't blaze through it. I had to just digest all of her majestic thinking. And then I did read through, just from front to back, the paperback, just to see what that experience would be like. Can't recommend it highly enough. Okay, this next one is by Andrew Lawler. This is a paperback of The Secret Token, which is about the lost colony at Roanoke. Some of you are not familiar with the byways of American history. Quite a few of you are not from America watching this channel. Roanoke was a very, very, very early English colony. Dropped off a whole bunch of people. Supply ships went away, and when they came back, no one was there, and there was a cryptic carving on a tree, and no one was present anymore. And it's been just a chew toy for conspiracy theorists ever since, wondering what happened. I don't want to. I love a good conspiracy theory. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. I don't want to ruin anybody's cottage industry, but I don't think there's any real difficulty in figuring out what happened to the lost colony in Roanoke. I don't think they were abducted by aliens. I think they were abducted, slaughtered and abducted by, a Native American tribe. Any one of a handful of Native American tribes. Happened all the time. It's just, I think it was a cryptic carving in the tree that did it. Okay, great. This is by Stacey Horn. This was fantastic. I didn't review it, so I'm not going to be blurbed on it. But we did talk about it on this channel when I got it originally. And this is, I wonder if it still has the pub sheet in it. Does it? Oh, it does. Look at that. It still has the pub sheet in it. This is a story about, it's called Damnation Island. And this doesn't look anything like this. Now, once upon a time, there were connected buildings, a complex of connected buildings. There were dumping ground for New York's undesirables. Mentally ill, sick, criminal, were all dumped onto this place. And I knew that. I knew a bit of it. I knew a bit of the story, but this tells you the details, and the details are horrific. And once again, just as the first time that I read it again when I got the trade paperback. And just as the first time I read it, I was fascinated and appalled by all of it, but my heart went out so much to the mentally ill, to people who weren't even badly mentally ill. In other words, they weren't raving. They knew something was wrong with them, and they were upset by that. And maybe they have heartless families or whatever. They are suddenly transported to this hellhole, surrounded by actual raving lunatics and also by violent criminals who aren't crazy at all. How horrible that must have been. Just unfathomably horrible. To go from the misery of knowing there's something wrong with you, I have this thing that I can't stop thinking about, or I remember when I was a child I could be happy and I can't be happy anymore and I want to be, to go from that daily misery, the daily misery of people who have, the kinds of mental illnesses that we can treat today, to go from the misery of that to the misery of that with no one listening to you, with you strapped to a bed all night or force-fed or surrounded by maniacs. It's a heartbreaking book. It's fantastically done. No bathos in it at all, but it's heartbreaking. Okay, a lot of these books are going to have, some of them, not a lot of them, but some of them are going to have blurbs by me. Yes, okay, all right. Some of them are going to. I've reviewed this one. This is Indianapolis by Lynn Vincent and Sarah Vladeck, and we saw this in advanced copy and in hardcover on this channel, and this is a big, totally soup to nuts story of the ship that delivered the bomb, the ship that had a secret mission to deliver components of the atomic bomb, and whose mission, I feel like I'm repeating here. The reason why I feel like I'm repeating is because this whole mission would be a footnote in history books if it weren't for Steven Spielberg's movie Jaws, in which Robert Shaw gives the monologue to end all monologues. He's the crusty old shark hunter, Quint, and he tells his story of being on the Indianapolis. The Indianapolis was torpedoed and sunk. The mission was so secret that no one was keeping track of them. So the men who weren't killed right away or burned to death in the fuel fire were dumped into the water and rapidly became the victims of exposure and concentrated hordes of shark attacks. And of course, if you're in a movie like Jaws, which is about a killer shark, you're going to concentrate on that. Oral histories of the men who were pulled out of the water alive have varied right from the beginning. There's been a question as to how much shark activity there was, as opposed to exposure, hunger, thirst, and burns, which will kill you if they're left untreated. It makes for a great story to say, that 1,100 men went into the water, and that only so many were pulled out alive, and to dramatize, as has been done many times, to dramatize the various, Baroque styles of shark attacks or whatnot. But this tells the whole story, not just the grisly details of the men in the water, but also the mission and the aftermath. When what I consider to be a grave injustice was done to the captain of the Indianapolis, who did nothing wrong. It wasn't his fault that his mission was classified. But anyway, there have been, I think, there have been a slew of books on the Indianapolis. But there have been two. I'm blanking right now on the author's review. One of them, which doesn't make me very helpful to you. There were two in the last 60 years that have been really good. Really scrupulous history. And this beats them all. This will be in your bookstores in paperback now. And this is the Indianapolis history to get. Especially if you only have room for one. If you're that old trite old cliche, you're only going to get one Indianapolis book. You should make it that one. Okay, this is a classic. I don't think I'm blurbed in this. See, the problem is that when you are an unknown book reviewer, doesn't matter how active you are. I'm the most active book reviewer in the world, and talk about reading. I firmly believe, no, not to toot my own horn, but when it comes to American new releases in 15 or 16 different genres, I am better read than any critic alive today. I don't think there's any doubt about that. There are about a dozen of those critics who know me, and some of them are fairly proud and prickly people. They would instantly admit it. And there's nothing, that's not all that great an accomplishment. I could be discovering a cure for something. But I am still small fry. I don't do high-profile reviews, almost not at all. I've had very good luck, wonderful editors. But when you get a big book like this, you're going to get big people to review it. You're going to get major historians, major academics, and that's going to crowd out people like me. And this is Peter Caddick-Adams. This is Snow and Steel. This is the trade paperback of Snow and Steel. His study of the Battle of the Bulge, one of the last great Western engagements of World War II, a mad gamble, an insane gamble on the part of Adolf Hitler, who wanted to somehow break out of the ring of arms that was tightening around Germany in all directions. Wanted to somehow break out. He correctly gambled that the Western forces, the Allied forces to his east, might be a little relaxed, that they might also have been able to read the tea leaves and know that the end was within sight. And that maybe if they were relaxed enough, he could punch through some armored divisions and make it to the nearest big river, maybe even make it to the coast. That was insane. That was never going to happen. And yet, as is true with all megalomaniacs throughout history, he found people to obey his orders. He found sane people to obey insane orders. And for a brief time it worked, hence the bulge. There was a line, and then it bulged. Because for a brief time it worked. For a few days it worked. People, Allied divisions were caught off guard. They were decimated. They were massacred in one infamous case. They were caught on their back foot. But they had 1,000 times the men and equipment and wherewithal, especially, most crucially, 1,000 times the fuel. Your tanks don't do you any good if you don't have fuel. There was never any chance. They were caught on their back foot a little. They backed up a little. They bulged. The line bulged a little. It never broke. And then they regrouped, and that was that. So, and you would think, a story like that, the way I describe it, that it wouldn't be worth a book this big, much less there have been so many books on the Battle of the Bulge. I don't even know how many. Every survivor wrote a book, and historians were writing about it while it was happening. But this is terrific. Peter. The reason that I extol this book is because Peter Caddick-Adams, I wasn't familiar with him before this book. And now he's one of my favorite World War II historians. He's just incredible, the job that he does in his books. So I was very happy to get the paperback from Oxford, even though it was a little bit bittersweet, because I had the advance copy. I sent it off to one of you, a World War II buff. Then I got the finished copy, and I sent it off to one of you, because I thought, well, I'll get the paperback. And then a long time passed, and I didn't get the paperback. And I started to think, well, Oxford can be a little dodgy on these things. They'll always send you the advanced copies, but sometimes they forget to send you the finished copy, even when you let them know that you're commissioned to review it. And oftentimes they'll forget to send the paperback. Those follow-up things they sometimes forget to do. And I knew that, and so I thought, oh, well, I should face facts. I'm not going to get a paperback of Peter Caddick Adams. And I happened to be going to the Boston Library book sale back when I went to the Boston Library book sale. And they had a copy there, but it wasn't one of the cheap library books. It was off in a corner for more money. And I paid it anyway. In my own defense, I didn't realize that it wasn't $2. I thought it was going to be $2. And when I got to the desk, I was so busy joshing and playing with the staff and with all the customers in line that I didn't really blink about the price. And then the paperback came like a week later. So, okay, all right. This next one is not a new book. This is old, but it is terrific. It is a standard work. This is John Guy's Tudor England. Again, from Oxford. There was a series of Oxford trade paperbacks going over periods in English history. Some of them are very good. I wish I had them all. But this one, of course, is my favorite. This is his sweeping history of Tudor England. There's another Oxford volume called Later Tudors. But this is just fantastic. It's him just having a ball and being really authoritative. I still think, for all the millions of books out there on the subject, I still think it's probably the best, most accessible one-volume history of the Tudor era. I think you could just give it to anybody and they would like it. Okay, this is a classic. This is George Willison. This is Saints and Strangers, about the Pilgrims. And I will admit completely, without hesitation, you can't really see it in the dodgy light and with my repair job in place, but I got it for the cover. This thing's had many, many editions. I got this for the cover, and it is so wonderfully written. This is just narrative history. The Pilgrims that came to America, the early settlement of America. This is such wonderful narrative history that I delight in rereading it. As soon as I saw this trade paperback, I realized that was the one I wanted to have, so I got it, I reinforced it, and I go back to it, especially since I often get books like The Secret Token about roughly that period, about roughly that emigration movement. Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay, am I blurbed on this? Yes. This is Anna Babkin. She went to a West African community, a Senegalese community of fishermen. This is the Fisherman's Blues, and she just describes it. She describes the people that she met there, their customs, their long history, and, of course, the purpose of the book, the danger that they're under. If you have a small fleet of handcrafted, lovingly decorated fishing boats that you've always had for as long as anyone can remember, the oldest memory in the village, and you periodically go out every day to fish the waters off your village or farther out on your village, what's going to happen to you and your community and your economy and your culture if suddenly mechanized and radar and GPS coordinated fishing fleets out beyond the reach of your craft are emptying the ocean? So nothing gets to you. So there's nothing there at all, and they don't care about you. They're in international waters, so they don't care about whether or not they're destroying you. A melancholy read, but very good, eye-opening. Especially since, I mean, not to get all Debbie Downer here, but especially since if you're in America, you are the one creating the appetite for that endless supply of fish, when it wouldn't kill you at all to have a nice steamed bowl of beans and spinach and lentils, a nice big plate of rice. That wouldn't kill you at all, and it wouldn't, more importantly, kill any Senegalese villages. It's delicious. It fills you up. Anyway, I'm not gonna. Okay, this is a trade paperback, but this is not. This is a UK trade paperback. I got the advanced copy of this book. I got the finished copy of this book. You can see it in some of my older videos, I believe. And then I got the trade paperback of this book, and I got rid of them all. I got rid of them all to various people who asked about it, because I knew all along that I was kind of wanting the trade paperback from the UK, and I finally found it. So this is SPQR by Mary Beard with a gold inlaid wreath there. The subtitle is History of Ancient Rome. I don't think it really functions as that. I would certainly never hand it to anyone for that. I made sure when I was mailing it out to people to tell them, be careful considering this a history of ancient Rome. This is much more an interconnected series of essays and meditations on the history of Rome. They're wonderful, of course, coming from Mary Beard. But this does not have the integumentary tissue. This does not have the connections, the narrative connections you'd expect from a big history of Rome. It's a different kind of thing. A little bit unhelpfully described, but still. a must-have book. Okay, this is Joshua Zeitz. This is Building the Great Society Inside the Johnson White House. This goes right along with, we saw yesterday, Playing with Fire by Lawrence O'Donnell. They go right along with each other. This is not an orange spine penguin, but it is still a penguin paperback. I had this and got rid of it. But it stuck with me. That's why I'm glad that I get paperbacks, because they stick with me. A book will stick with me, and if it does, I'm going to regret the fact that I got rid of it. I'm going to wish that it was still here when it's not. So with a paperback, I get one more chance at a book before I have to just admit that that I'm going to have to buy it used. And then, well, let's see, where are we here? That was one shelf, and we're at 20 minutes. So if we do two shelves, we're going to be 40 minutes, and that's probably not a good idea. So let's, and then there's no limit to how long this library tour has to be. That was one shelf. And I'm resigned to the fact. I mean, these books have memories for me. They are all active engagements for me. It's not like I'm pulling something out and just showing it to you and reading what you can read yourself and then putting it back. A lot of these things have memories for me. I am associated with them. I want to recommend them in some way or another. And that plus anecdotes means that there's no way that I'm going to be able to. I'm just gonna have to make my peace with the fact that I'm going to do this slowly. That's okay. You can skip these videos. I'll label them library tours, so if you don't want to see them, you can skip them. So we're going to stop. We're going to stop there. We'll do the next shelf tomorrow. There are lots and lots more shelves to go. We'll just have to pace ourselves. But I will still have plenty of other stuff to talk to you about. So I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.